Are you feeling like you're just constantly fighting the current of the world? Well, today, we're going to explore a completely different way. A way to move through our really complex lives, not by fighting, but by flowing. We're going to build what you might call an architecture for agency, and we're going to do it together.
You know that feeling, right? You push and the world just pushes back. It is so exhausting, this constant struggle. It feels like you're locked in a battle you just can't win. But what if that struggle, the battle itself, is the real problem? What if there's a smarter, more effective way to get through our lives?
I mean, just look around. We are surrounded by these massive forces that feel completely out of our hands. You've got social media algorithms, huge global events, just the sheer overwhelming noise of modern life. So it's really no wonder that so many of us feel this creeping sense of powerlessness, like we're just reacting to a world that happens to us. So our first instinct, usually, is to frame all these challenges as some kind of conflict, a battle. Me versus my job, us versus them. But this mindset, it just burns up so much energy because it frames reality as a constant war. So what if we could reframe it, not as a war, but as a dance? And that brings us to our first big idea, taking a look at an Eastern perspective on reality that can totally transform how we even think about conflict. So this is where we can really start to reframe what opposition even means. In Taoist philosophy, you have forces like light and dark, yang and yin, but they're not enemies. They're actually part of a single unified dynamic whole. And just look at the symbol, right? Within the whitest part of the yang, there's a little dot of black yin, and the other way around. That's the seed of the other. And it's this beautiful idea that every single state already has the potential for its opposite locked inside. This points to a really fundamental shift in how we think. A typical Western view often sees this binary, either-or conflict. One side has to win. But the Eastern view sees a both-and relationship. The goal isn't for one side to just crush the other, it's to find harmony, to find balance in their constant cyclical dance.
So just think about what that really means for a second. If every peak has the seed of a valley, and every valley has the seed of a peak, well then change isn't just possible, it is literally built into the fabric of reality. So our power, our agency, doesn't come from trying to stop the cycle. It comes from learning its rhythm, so we can anticipate the next move.
Okay, so if we can learn to see the world's rhythm, the next question is, how do we master our own? And for that, we're going to turn to the ancient Stoics and this idea of the inner citadel. This is such a simple but powerful line, and it comes from Epictetus, a philosopher who was actually born a slave. His core idea, what's known as the dichotomy of control, is really the foundation of a pragmatic and resilient mindset. So what the Stoics ask us to do is a really simple but kind of radical sorting exercise. In one bucket, you put everything you completely control, your reasoned choices, your judgments, your intentions. This is your inner citadel. And in the other bucket, you put, well, everything else, your health, your reputation, what's happening in the world, what some algorithm decides to show you. Our feeling of powerlessness really comes from putting all our energy into that second bucket instead of the first. This is just the perfect analogy. An archer has total control over their training, their focus, how they choose to release the arrow. But the second it's in the air, the wind, a sudden gust, the target moves, that's all external. So the Stoic finds satisfaction in the quality of their effort, not in whether the arrow hits the bullseye. And that shift from being obsessed with the outcome to focusing on the process, that's where we find our freedom.
All right, so now we have a new map of reality and a way to focus our minds. But how do we actually apply this stuff in the real world? This is where we learn the strategy of flow, or what you could call moral judo.
So maybe the most famous practitioner of this whole strategy was Mahatma Gandhi, and his method was called Satyagraha. Now, it often gets mistranslated as passive resistance, but its real meaning is so much more powerful. It means truth force, a force that's born from a deep, deep commitment to truth and love. It is so crucial to understand this is not about weakness. Gandhi himself said, passive resistance was a weapon of the weak. Satyagraha, he argued, is a weapon of the strongest. It takes immense courage to face conflict head-on, not with hate or violence, but with the goal of actually transforming your opponent, not just beating them. So how does it actually work? Well, think of a river coming up against a giant boulder. The river doesn't try to smash the rock. That would be a complete waste of energy. Instead, it just flows around it, over it,
It yields to the obstacle, but it keeps moving forward, and eventually it wears that rock down to sand. It uses the opponent's own rigidity and momentum against them. This whole philosophy is just perfectly embodied in the martial art of judo, which literally translates to the gentle way. Its founder, Jigoro Kano, based it on two core principles. First, maximum efficiency with minimum effort, so using your opponent's force to your advantage. And second, mutual prosperity and benefit, this idea that a true victory is one where everyone involved gets something out of it.
Okay, so let's bring all these powerful ideas together now. We've gone from the dance of Taoism to the focus of Stoicism to the flow of Gandhi. And from all of this, we can build a really solid framework. This is our architecture of agency.
It all really comes down to a three-step process. First, you've got to change your worldview. See a dance floor, not a battlefield. Second, get ruthlessly clear about what you can and cannot control, and then pour your energy only into what you can. And third, when you act like a judo master. You yield, you flow, and you use the system's own energy to guide it toward a new direction. At the end of the day, this is what reclaiming your agency really looks like. It's not about being some unmovable rock just bracing against the world. No, it's about becoming the persistent, powerful river that over time carves canyons and changes the very shape of the land.
And that's really the question this whole architecture leaves us with. The world is always going to present us with force, with inertia, with opposition, with complexity. So the choice is ours. Do we meet it head on in an endless fight? Or do we learn the steps to the dance and master the art of the flow?
Getting to the heart of the matter isn't always easy, but here we always look for the essence. Thank you for your time and your curiosity. Subscribe for more answers, and as always, thanks for watching.